Hi, and welcome to a new tarot card reading with me. My name is The Stars Tarot, and we are going to do a year ahead spread for 2026. I actually wanted to upload a reading just after New Year's, but since we've had crazy snowstorms here, life has been more about planning how to transport ourselves. So it's been a bit hectic, but I had some time today, and I really wanted to do this spread with you. If you're interested in a year ahead spread, you can also purchase that on my website. I will link it in the description. And yeah, I'm looking forward to do a couple of year readings for you if you're interested. So go check it out. But for the collective reading now, you can see I already put the Wheel of Fortune card in the, well, what is going to be the middle of the reading. So the overall energy for the year 2026 is corresponding to the Wheel of Fortune tarot card. And how do we get this? So there's a little bit of numerology going into this. We basically add all the single digits of the year 2026, then we get to the number 10, and the number 10 is the Wheel of Fortune. So what does this entail? The Wheel of Fortune emphasizes that life is about cyclical change, meaning that sometimes when our life is seeming to go smoothly and it's going great, we can inevitably expect that things will be less great at some point. That's just the cyclical nature of life in a way. So the Wheel of Fortune is really promising change. It can be sometimes an unexpected change, but it is also a card of unexpected opportunities because things are changing. It can also create new energies, meaning that new opportunities can also come your way. So it's a very interesting card, to me more interesting than it was, for example, in 2025 when the card of the year was the Hermit, which is not a bad card, but it's much more about being introspective and being a bit more isolated, trying to find your own guiding light. So it's a completely different energy this year, which I don't know about you, but I kind of welcome that. So expect change, expect sometimes things that are kind of part of your destiny or some things that are fated. I do believe that we have control of our destiny, but I also believe that some parts sometimes are kind of, part of our life path, and that those are meant to happen. And that's also what the Wheel of Fortune can represent. So at least a lot more movement compared to last year. You can already see that this card is a little bit more dynamic, and you can see in the card that there's like a stream of white light and a stream of a black color in this card, meaning, the change between good and not so good, and the shift in between that, so that's really the movement or the momentum that can build up for us. In this card, the illustration is a woman holding like two dice, or it's like draped around her neck. So it's also kind of like luck of the draw, right? Like sometimes you also just get lucky. So that's really the sort of like the fortune part of this card, where sometimes you're not really in control of what kind of or what type of luck is coming your way. So really kind of an unexpected energy, but movement, and things speeding up, things changing. So I'm, personally quite looking forward to the energy of this year. So what I want to start with is we're going to first draw a card that will be for January, and we're just going to check out what energy we can expect for the rest of this month. So bear in mind that this is a reading for the collective. So it's it might, some parts might apply to you, sometimes you kind of feel like it's not part of you, but just take what resonates. And I always say that, sometimes it can also be really nice to, if you've watched this reading, come back to it at a later point and kind of like see where the cards were fitting into your path. Okay, so let's draw a card for the overall energy for January. What can we still expect for the rest of this month? The Knight of Swords. Okay. So the Knight of Swords is quite a active card, but active in the sense of being mentally active. You know, swords are the suit for the mental realm, your thinking parts of you, um, your parts where you are ingrained with behavioral patterns, for example, or the way that you look at things intellectually, or trying to reason, or trying to, stay objective. And sometimes that's, of course, more difficult than other times. But what the Knight of Swords is really about is having kind of like a very single focus, like a single purpose to get to. And it can be a purpose made with haste because of the movement that's in this card. You see someone kind of like running towards the motorcycle that's standing here. So knights are always in movement because they are deliverers of messages. And that's what this card is really signifying. It's about taking action, taking control of the path that you're ahead on because you want to reach a particular goal. So it seems that even though January can be a little bit of a difficult month in the sense of you coming out of December, celebrating holidays, where the energy can be a bit more stagnant. You kind of would expect maybe January to be a bit more slow moving as well, to kind of get used to the movement again. But apparently for the collective in January, for the rest of the month, we have quite an active mind. We have a goal, we have a purpose, and maybe that is also part connected to, setting goals for the rest of the year, thinking about your aspirations, what it is that you want to achieve for this year. So it can be part of that. That's kind of something that you're planning to set as intentions or set as a goal. So intellectually, kind of an active month. There could be messages coming your way. It could also mean that there's something that you kind of like had on your to-do list for a long time and you didn't really get to go around that in December, and that's what you want to tackle for the rest of this month. So some planning, some strategy, that is part of this energy as well, but mentally active, which is quite nice if you really want to get stuff done for this month. Okay, let's have a look at February. And this will be a card on how to build the momentum for the rest of the year. So we've had our overall energy for the year 2026. January is going to be mentally active. Now, how can we build upon this momentum for the month of February? The Hanged Man. Okay, so how can we build momentum for the rest of the year? It is about changing our perspective. The Hanged Man is kind of a tricky card in the sense that it's, compared to the Knight of Swords here and compared to the Wheel of Fortune, this is kind of like a bit more of a stagnant energy, a bit more of a still energy. It doesn't have to necessarily be stagnant, but it's more still. It has that little bit of introspection again, because this is about like, how can you see things differently? So in order to build momentum for the rest of the year in February, what we have to do is look at different vantage points for ourselves. So looking at a situation or perhaps people, and wondering if you might need to change your approach. Is there something that you haven't considered yet? The Hanged Man can also speak about sacrifice. It could also be about sort of like an impending decision where you are trying to get to an understanding of a situation or of something, but you just haven't felt like the click yet of, okay, this is exactly what it is actually meaning. And by going inside yourself and by changing your perspective, by changing your views, you might actually get to that answer. So there's a layeredness to this card in depending on what type of situation it will be applicable for you. But changing our perspective, changing our vantage point, changing our views, wondering how we can improve something by drawing out some, different scenarios. That might really help in getting the momentum for the rest of the year. So if I do this, if I do action A, what would that most likely lead to? What would most likely happen if I take step B? So in that way, you can kind of set up scenarios for yourself and anticipate what is most likely going to come your way as a reaction to your action. I hope that made sense. So a change in perspective. So don't worry if, February is not moving yet too much for you. It can just mean that within February, you still need to kind of like figure out how to approach something, how to put things into place before you can really take the action because of this more still standing energy. It's like here she's trying to grab like these kind of like symbols that are here in the card. So it's like really like making a choice on which symbol is fitting the best to your situation. Okay, let's see what we can expect for March. And for March, I want to draw a card on what will be awakened within you. And of course, March is going into springtime, at least in the Northern Hemisphere. So what can we expect to awaken within us when spring is coming around the corner? What will be awakened within us? Okay, let's see. Oof, okay, that's a, a bit of a hard-hitting one, the Five of Swords. Not the most fun card. The Five of Swords is a card about self-sabotage, or at least it can be about self-sabotage. It can mean also that you kind of feel like you've had a loss and you felt like it's been in a way unjustified because someone else is getting away with something. So it can feel like an injustice. But let's take the approach of self-sabotage. So what is awakened within you here is what the card is saying to us is try to not make everything a competition. Not everything has to be about playing out an energy between you and something else or someone else. Sometimes it's smarter to keep the energy within us. And sometimes that means stepping away from something that you could anticipate going into the wrong direction. So it's saying like maybe sometimes step away and don't engage, because even if you were going to win this battle, it's not going to feel fulfilling. So it's a time of picking your battles, picking your losses sometimes, and understanding that there's more value to that sometimes. Even though the short-term effect can feel like a loss, in the long term, if you look back at it, you will understand why it was the better decision to walk away and not engage. And that can be tricky because sometimes we are moving on impulse, or we feel that every type of action that's being projected towards you needs to have a reaction, but that's not always the case. Sometimes it's actually better not to, invest energy in something that's not worth it. So that realization of picking your battles, trying to not self-sabotage, is something that will be awakened within us. And it might be the case that because we've had the Hanged Man before in February, that you see those kind of patterns more clearly within yourself, or that you recognize things more clearly within yourself that is allowing you to step away from a competition, or stepping away from a situation that is just really not fulfilling at all. So an interesting card to get as an awakening. It's like I said, it's not the most fun energy, but sometimes this can be really worthwhile if you are, for example, in a type of conflict with someone, or there's a conflict heading your way. Now, you really have to kind of like go into yourself and wonder if it is worth it. Is it worth to spend energy on this? Because that's energy that you will not get back again. So really consider if the situation or individual or people are worth it. Is this whole situation worth it to engage and to spend your energy on something that will not feel like a win to you in the end? So that's the awakening, that type of realization of what is worthy for you and your energy, what is the best for you, even though it might mean that you need to walk away from something. Okay, let's see what we can expect in April. And for April, I want to draw a card on what to grow and set our intentions to. What can we grow in the month of April? Like, how can we set our intentions in a way that we can grow individually or as a collective? Page of Swords. Okay, so there's already 3 sword cards in this year reading so far. So from that, I can already see that our intellect, our reasoning is, and communication. Swords are also about communication, is really important this year so far, especially for the first half of the year. So, what to grow and how to set our intentions. The Page of Swords, I actually think this is a really applicable card, because the Page of Swords is about learning, about being curious, about wanting to gain more information and see what we can learn from that. So that actually really pairs well with setting goals and setting intentions, for example. You know, and I really like that depiction in this card for the Page of Swords, because of these little light bulbs that you see. You know, like, you might have like a flash of inspiration or a thought or an idea where you go like, oh my God, this is it. Now I see it, You can also see if you look at the colors, for example, you can see how these colors here are a bit more muted compared to this sort of like yellow greenish, which feels like a bit more alive, feels a bit more active. So that's really nice if you think in terms of growing, what do you want to grow for yourself? You want to grow your curiosity. You want to grow learning. Maybe you are taking a course. Maybe you are writing a book. Maybe you are, doing more journaling or posting blogs or whatever it is. This is really about gaining information and gaining knowledge. So this is something that we can use, a tool that's at our disposal to improve our intentions for the rest of the year, making sure that we are staying curious, really, like staying curious, not about maybe information that we always look at, but also maybe something that is a little bit more out of your comfort zone, so that you can really challenge yourself and find out new angles on how to view something, or new information that is leading to a new inspiration. So this is still a young energy. The pages are the youngest of the court cards. And so that means that it might also feel a little bit uncomfortable in a way to look for new information, gathering knowledge. But if you feel that that's a challenge for yourself, then try to make it about the curiosity. Like you really are eager to find out something. Like maybe you want to do some research, or writing, or sharing your research. But this is really opening up a new energy to learn in the biggest sense of the word. So this is how we grow, by setting our attention, staying curious, learning, researching, and applying that knowledge. All right, for the month of May, what will blossom for us in the month of May? So this is now where we can start maybe seeing how we are reaping what we've sowed. What will grow for us? How can we see some results already in May? What kind of results can we expect from this growing and intention setting? What is blossoming for us in the month of May? Ten of Pentacles. Okay, nice. So what we can start seeing from the work that we've done in, the first part of the year, is that there is a type of togetherness, a feeling of community. The Ten of Pentacles is about sharing abundance. It is about community. It's about legacy. It's about generational things, because you see different generations represented in this card. And it feels like there's a type of loyalty between all parties involved. So sharing abundance, coming together, and feeling joy is really uh, what the month of May will be about. Which is really, again, like it feels like the first part of the year is going to be a little bit tricky. So it might seem like we are starting a little bit slow and we're gaining some, aspects within ourselves. And then from April onwards, it's starting to become a bit more lighter. It's starting to bit more feel more like togetherness, like you can go out and just have a bit more fun instead of contemplating so much. So that's a really lovely energy for the month of May. Then for June, and at that point we're halfway of the year. Let's look at June, and I want to draw a card on what is the potential shift in your life in June. And that really relates again to that Wheel of Fortune, So like we've done then the 6 months. The Wheel of Fortune is promising change for us. So what potential shifts can we expect in the month of June? I want to have this card. The Hierophant. Okay. The Hierophant to me is, especially in this deck, a little bit of a different meaning than the traditional tarot is learning us about the Hierophant. In the traditional tarot, the Hierophant is about organization, structure, keeping things in line. It's a little bit more about sticking with a particular moral code. And how I feel this card in this particular deck is different than that type of interpretation is that it's more about spiritual enlightenment for me. This kind of like seems like someone who's been practicing meditation and has kind of like reached a level of consciousness that they haven't reached before. So there's like a new consciousness opening up, or maybe there's a new type of consciousness available to us. And it kind of like sits within this energy of, being curious and learning. So perhaps we've gained knowledge, or perhaps we've learned something new that is really lifting our awareness up to a new level. And that actually sounds wonderful, that's like a shift for us in our life at 6 months in the year, like us being aware about new things, feeling more aware, wanting to perhaps also do things differently because you are more conscious and more aware. So this is really seeming, coming together quite nicely, like a little bit more difficulty in the beginning, and it opens up from April onwards, like to having kind of like a level up in a way. So this can also, the card speaks about more like an inward awareness or opening up of consciousness, but I think this can also radiate outwards, meaning that you might feel the need to also physically change things up. You might want to do like a sort of like a, like a get a new wardrobe, get a new haircut, like really kind of reinvent yourself a little bit. And it feels like joy, like, I mean, this person is really happy to have come to this stage of awareness where they feel they are more connected to the universe and maybe are feeling more aligned with the universe. So things seem to be going into tandem with the universe. And that feeling, if that happens, if you feel really centered within yourself and you really feel like what it is that you're doing is aligned with the universe, we feel great. We feel light, we feel like things are more effortless. So this is a really wonderful shift in the month of May that we can expect. So this is a potential shift. It doesn't mean that will obviously happen for everyone at the same time. But it's definitely like a theme where most of you that are watching this video can expect that there is going to be a shift in consciousness. And this can really like open up new opportunities and new ways of thinking about things. So this seems really exciting. I just want to clear these cards because we've had this now for the first 6 months and I don't have a lot of space here. So those were the cards for the first 6 months. Then we're going to have a look at the second part of the year. And then we have the card for the month July, which is sort of like the summer peak. And I want to draw a card on what to expect in the height of the summer. What can we expect of this summer energy in July? Oh, well, that one flew out, so let's take that. The Star. Okay, well, you know, my name is the Stars Tarot, so it won't come as a surprise that the Star card is one of my favorite cards in the deck, so that's great. You know, speaking about the spiritual alignment or the, you know, feeling more in tune with the universe that we feel in the month of June, apparently that's going to continue in July, because what the Star is talking about is about a renewed sense of hope, of feeling that you're part of a bigger scheme, you know. We all have our individual lives, of course, but we are also all connected to the same kind of source, and whatever you believe that source is, but there is a connection between all of us. So renewed sense of hope, feeling refreshed, feeling like you're on the right track, that you can look forward to a bright future because, you know, you've been spending time on healing and cleaning out yourself. This can be internally, but it can also be something small like, I don't know, clearing your closets and really making space for a new type of energy. So it's about aspirations, about really understanding that you can actually achieve those goals, that it's, you know, it's not impossible. You know, in effect, the Star is saying like everything is possible if you are staying aligned within yourself and if you align your purpose with something that is authentic to yourself. So there's a lot of renewed energy here. There's a lot of like feeling so part of like something bigger, that you feel valued within yourself, that you're more easily accept parts of you that you might have been discarding before. So this is a really, really wonderful energy. And I just want to show you some of the keywords that are also part of the Star. Yeah, so it says expectations fulfilled, wishes granted, opportunities, healing after traumatic events, knowing you are on the right path, inspiration, renewed hope. Yeah, so knowing that you are on the right path. And I feel that the Hierophant in the month before that is kind of like setting that tone for the month of July, where the Star is, you know, really feeling it. Like the Hierophant is understanding, it's like achieving the point, and in the Star you really feel it. It becomes part of you. So it's more ingrained in a sense. So that's an amazing energy. Okay, let's see if this energy also continues to August. For the month of August, okay, this one flips over as well, so I'm going to take that. For the month of August, the card is for what you can harvest. Okay, we seem to be on quite a little bit of a more spiritual path here for the second part of the year. So what we can harvest in the month of August is the world. And the world is about ascending ourselves. We have learned so many lessons that we are now continue to ingrain that energy within ourselves. We're making it part of us, the good and the bad that we've gone through. We can see it as a part of a larger scheme that makes us grow, that makes us ascend to a new kind of version of ourselves, a new improved version. So the world is promising a new chapter in our life. And this is really, to me, the card of ascendancy. So we are basing our actions on the knowledge and the experience of the past year or past years. But this is all coming together now. The world is in a sense, it's a card of completion. And obviously with completion comes a new phase. So it really kind of resonates with cards like the aces, for example, like where there's a new fresh beginning. Although where the aces in the tarot deck differ is that aces are potential energy, so you have to really make an effort to keep that potential energy moving to make sure that it lasts. And with the world, it's like the coming together of everything, and now you are sort of reborn. So if you are planning for this year to really reinvent yourself, then this is the year for it. This really seems like the perfect year to step out of like old behavioral types, old ways of thinking, old ways of viewing yourself and limiting yourself, and actually opening yourself up to something that is just, promising you the best version of yourself and the best life that you can live. So this is really amazing. I really like the energy that's being set out here. Let's look at the month of September. What is transitioning for you in the month of September? We're going into the autumn season in the Northern Hemisphere then. What is transitioning for you? I don't even have to pull cards. They're just falling out. Okay. I feel like I'm in a good reading vibe here. So maybe that's why the cards are also just falling out. Okay, so for the month of September, we have the Two of Wands. By the way, also notice that all these cards here are major arcana cards. So it means big shifts, big changes. September, we go to a minor arcana card, which is an energy that we have more control over ourselves. The Two of Wands, so adventure awaits, it seems. This card can be literally about traveling, but it can also be more of a metaphorical journey, because the Two of Wands, the two wands that you see here, one that she's holding and one that's still here in the corner, those represent the energies of something new, something to look forward to in the future, and something that, that's kind of like your comfort zone, stuff that you've already are well known with, things that you always do. So it's kind of like the old energy. So the Two of Wands is about making a choice, making a decision. Do you want to stay with this, old energy that's your comfort zone? So it's energy that you are aware of, that you know. It's like going through the motions with that. Or are we picking up the wand that represents a new adventure? Are we going to travel in September? Are we going to travel for the rest of the year? Is there some type of journey that is awaiting for us? Something more new and exciting? So this is a decision that you have to make for yourself. Like, are you going with the new or are you sticking with the old? So September can be about decision time. And because the wands are connected to the suit of fire, and fire often represents, sort of like the creative side of the energies. So feeling inspired, feeling creative, feeling confident, wanting to be more charismatic, wanting to be more enchanted with your own life. So it can also be about making a choice based on that type of energy, that type of sensation. Do we want to go for the creative? Do we want to go for the unexpected, or do we want to stick with what we already know? And the thing is, like, it's neither choice is bad or anything. It's just more that, sticking with what you know can also mean you kind of like stay in a rut and you just are recycling the same type of thing. Whereas choosing a new path, choosing a new adventure, obviously is also bringing you something different. And that can enhance your life. So it's up to you what that choice will be. Let's look at the month October. Going deeper, going into introspection. It's a month where, we are going towards the end of the year. And if we are thinking about a month where you go deeper, where there's introspection, we can ask the question, what type of wisdom do we learn in the month of October? What type of wisdom? Okay, well, it's the Tower. Okay. The Tower is a lightning bolt. The Tower is about re-evaluating foundations that you have built for yourself. You are evaluating how solid those foundations actually are. You know, you can see here like these animals have like built like I think it's called a burrow. I'm not entirely sure, but like there's some type of structure here, but the lightning bulb is hitting it and it seems to break down. So it's not a solid foundation. So this is a month where we are gaining the wisdom of what do we need to rebuild for ourselves? What do we need to have a look at and realize and understand and maybe accept for ourselves that it's no longer working in the form that it is. So it doesn't mean that you have to completely wipe everything out. It just means that you have to assess for yourself how you can restructure something. And this can be an unexpected shift because the lightning is not always predictable. And it can kind of like hit you where it can hit you in such a way that it feels chaotic. So it can be a bit of a challenging energy, but it's an energy that is sometimes needed in order for you to have a really good look at what is working and what isn't. So be honest with yourself in the month of October and really reevaluate your foundations. Is there something that you need to change about your foundations? Is it solid enough? Do we have the relationship with people that we want, or do we need to readjust it in such a way that it becomes that it feels more fulfilling, that it feels like it makes you happy enough? So those are the type of questions that we have to ask ourselves in October. Okay, let's have a look at the month of November. And for November, I want to draw a card on what do we need to let go of in that month. You know, we've had cards about so much like sort of inner transformations now that we maybe also need to consider what we then need to let go of and make space for to go into the end of the year and the beginning of 2027 at that point. What do we need to let go of? Okay, well, speaking of letting go, the death and rebirth card, okay, seems very appropriate. So death and rebirth. Death is, in a way, I mean, it has a little bit of an overlap with the world in a sense, although where the world is really like about ascension and really like promising our leveling up. The death and rebirth card is really about we are done with one part of our life for good, and we are stepping in a new part of our life. So it's more, the death and rebirth card feels more heavy in that sense, because the transformation can be a bit more severe. That doesn't have to be bad. It just means that you might experience it as more difficult compared to the feeling of the world, where it's more lighter. It's more of a light type of energy. The death and rebirth card can feel so transformational that it's probably been in the works for a long time. And for me, this card is also about something that has been on your mind for a very long time, something that you might know that that's going to end, some part of your life, some type of connection, some type of situation, but you're kind of like dragging your feet and you don't really want to make a decision. And then the death and rebirth card comes in November and kind of like forces you to do that, to make that decision and to do things really different. So it just feels a little bit more heavy. If I speak about this card, I can actually feel like a bit of a stone in my stomach kind of feeling. Like it's really like, oh shit, okay, I can't really go around it anymore. Like I really have to do this now. It's the right time. It's the right time to grab this new light that's here through the death. Like you have to move beyond it. You have to move past it. So whatever this applies to in your life, this can feel a bit heavy, but it might just really be the right timing, or even maybe divine timing, that you need to make the decision and cut a cord with something or someone. So that's a little bit challenging, but it's, I think, compared to or considering what we have learned so far in this year, it really feels like a build up to it. And especially coming from the tower where you have to reevaluate your foundations, it means that in November you kind of know how you need to do that. And that might also mean that you have to remove some parts that just are no longer in alignment with your authentic self. Okay, and then we have December, the end of the year. What do we need to reflect upon in the month of December? Wait, I just want to shuffle. What does the collective need to reflect upon in December 2026? Yeah, this one. Okay, what do we need to reflect upon? Okay, we have the King of Cups here. This is so interesting. We've had quite a number of major arcana cards in this reading and swords cards, but this is the first cups cards. This is the first more emotionally tinted kind of energy. So the King of Cups is about mastering your emotions, mastering your feelings, being the epitome of compassion, of self-care, of being in touch with your feelings. So I feel that even though parts of the year, especially looking at, what was this again? October, November, December. Yeah, so especially October, November may be a little bit more heavy for us. And by December, we feel lighter again. We feel like we've made the right decisions. We feel like we are in touch with our own emotional self again. So again, this can also be about, traveling, perhaps sea travel. There's a boat here. There's the ocean, so you might actually also take a time out and be close to the ocean. Maybe that's your feeling of feeling refreshed again, being close to the ocean. But it's really, really feeling so much better now by December. You really feel like you've made the right decisions, you've stayed true to yourself, and now you can also look at yourself with empathy and understand for yourself why you had to make those decisions or why you had to reshape certain parts of your life in order to feel more at peace. Like this to me is a really peaceful, restful card. Like this person is really, there's no turmoil here. You see how the water, the sea is calm. There's floating, literal floating of a boat, which is in calm waters. They're touching this sort of like bowl here. So there's a natural flow here. And that's how the collective will feel in December. If we reflect upon how the year has gone, you really feel much more in line with yourself, much more attuned to what you have accomplished the whole year, and getting some actual rest and recuperation after possibly 2 more difficult months. So, you might also feel, by the way, because of the cups cards, it can also be more of an intuitive kind of energy. So it may also be that you get like a number of intuitive feelings or intuitive messages. Maybe you see or you notice like synchronicities within your life. And that's really like the accumulation of the whole year that's coming to the conclusion in December. So I think that is the reading. So I'm going to close this reading. Thank you so much for watching. I hope that this reading was helpful. I hope you can work with the energies of this year. And again, of course, this was a reading for the collective. So if you would like me to have a look at, your year reading, your year ahead more personally, and if you have a specific question for that, we can do that, and you can book a reading with me on my website. Thank you so much for being with me and have a great rest of the day. Thank you. Bye.